Hello, Nightlords. Hello, YouTube. Unseen Future here. Today I got another video on Ironeye. And I know. I said I was going to do Wylder next. But then I got sidetracked and got to playing with Ironeye again. And had so much fun. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and do this video first. Because you've heard me say in the last few videos, if you've watched those, that I believe Wylder is going to turn out to be the best Nightfarer. But then I'll play with another Nightfarer like Ironeye here, or even Raider, and realize that they're really good too. And to me, it's between 4 Nightfarers, which if you watched other videos, you already know. But we've got Ironeye here, Wylder, Duchess, and Raider. And Wylder's the only one that really don't have that much of a weakness. To me, he's the strongest. He's the best all around, and that's why I'm kind of leaning towards him being the best. But then I play with Ironeye, and we just demolish all these bosses pretty easily. I mean, not perfectly. You see me take a bunch of damage, and I have to heal quite a few times, especially on this next one. But it was just me and my friend here, Mr. Good Cats. And we were both playing Ironeye, and we always had a random. And I think we get a Wylder, a Duchess, and even a Guardian. And all the matches, I think we get level 15, all but one. But the only thing, Ironeye has a lower health pool, so I use that Knight of the Fathom to increase the maximum HP. And also Flask also heals your allies. I don't know how much, though. I've never really actually paid attention to see how much. And items confer effects to all nearby allies, which is nice, actually. Because I could have, buff stamina, buff defense, buff, your physical attack, and I can give all my allies that as well. That goes for any character. I think that is one of the best relics to choose for any character. Because you just, more HP in these games is just more chances to defeat the boss, and less likely you're going to die and get one-shotted. So, if you're thinking, I never talk about what relics I use or anything, but usually the way I do Ironeye, I hadn't explained it on none of any other videos, but I'll just do Ironeye. Like I use that, I'll use the relic that gives him an additional skill use for marking enemies, and then I'll choose. You'll notice I'm pretty much every time you're going to see me using his starting weapon. Buff the starting weapon or get a relic that will give it the weakness of the boss. So if it's fire, I'll do fire. On this case, it was poison. And I think everybody should do that. I think you should go into these boss runs with the weakness of the boss on your main weapon, and actually level it up at least +2, and if you get Crater, you can max it out to +3. So you got to run through a cave, get you a stone 2, and either buy you a stone 1 or find you a stone 1. And that way you don't have to rely on finding a weapon. I run into so many randoms that are wanting us to go to all these areas with the weapon for the weakness of the boss. And it's because they didn't start they didn't start out with a weapon for the boss. They just was hoping to find one. I think it's better to do the opposite. Have your weapon prepared for the boss, and if you find something better, great, use it. But if you'll notice, if you play like we do, we play quite a bit, you're going to notice that you don't. It's surprisingly you end up using your starting weapon a lot of the time, or at least we do, probably 90%. But anyways, kind of got off on a tangent there. So this is just another, who's the best Nightfarer. And Ironeye could be the best Nightfarer. His only weakness, I would say, would be his physical damage negotiation. And mainly his health pool being low, but there's a lot of characters that have low health pools, and that can be, with this Knight of the Fathom relic, you can kind of get your HP up and make them just as strong as some of the other characters for higher health pools. So I don't really look at that as a weakness, because kind of a lot of we've got 3 or 4 characters there that have low health pools and low physical defense. But the next one is definitely going to be Wylder. I'm going to do the, and I might go ahead and do the support characters and maybe talk about them and, you know, decide which one's the best support characters, because this game is designed to have, like, I don't know if you would say main characters, but I look at it as you want characters that can do some damage. So, for instance, like this one, we have a Duchess in this one, and then 2 Ironeyes. So you're thinking all 3 have lower health pools, all have 3 to me have lower defenses, but we do very well actually. So I don't know. I guess everybody has different strats for this game. But anywho, I ain't got a whole. I think that's about it. I've rambled and rambled as usual. I get off on tangents talking about all kinds of different stuff. But yeah, the next one will be Wylder. Still deciding. I have not decided who the best Nightfarer is. It's still Wylder, kind of, in my mind, because he's just so... I don't know, he just don't have a weakness, per se. He's very good all around. Anybody can use him. But I tell you what, Ironeye's up there. They're all up there together, at least the 4 I mentioned. You know, so... Like I said, I'm beginning to wonder, is there going to be a best Nightfarer, or would it be better to have a tier list for them? You know, what's on a tier list might be the best way to categorize the Nightfarers. But maybe I'll do that in the future. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoy the invasions. I went back to Elden Ring. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Please leave a like, subscribe, comment if you can. And I'll see you guys in the next one. And GG's as always. Bye-bye.